Welcome back to another video for the All Takes No Whiffs podcast. I'm Alex and that's Christian. And for this video, we'll be continuing our top 10 series. We'll be ranking our top 10 players at every position. And for this week, we are moving on to the outfield, to left field. This was really fun list to come up with, and I'm ready to get into it.
When it came to making this list, it wasn't too hard or too easy, to be honest, because the easy part was the names that I felt like belonged in the top 10.
Ranking
It was
them.
yeah, ranking them was like it wasn't the easy part, but at the same time, as hard as it was, from what we're seeing, we kind of got it down. Like most people think this, even though it wasn't easy. But to get things started, I have Christian Yelich at number 10. At his best, of course, this dude's number one or two, but uh, he's had a really shaky couple of past seasons with injuries, and I don't want to sound negative saying it, but like it just makes me a little skeptical of when he can bounce back fully healthy for a full period of time. Is he gonna be the same player? And I'm hoping so for sure because like I'm a big fan of Yelich. Honestly, how could you hate Yelich? So he's at 10 for me right now, and I'm really hoping he shoots up this list in 2023 because we've seen what he's capable of. And I personally think it's impossible for somebody to just outright lose that talent and ability. So, in my opinion, it's not gone. It's been hidden for a while.
Oh yeah, and I'll talk about Yelly here in a minute. He's a little higher on my list, but at number 10 for me, I have the new left fielder for the Chicago White Sox, Andrew Benintendi. And like we've been doing for every single video, Christian will be the headshots and I will be the names that come up on the screen. So Andrew Benintendi just signed a 5-year, $75 million deal with the Chicago White Sox. And he kind of has solidified that left field spot. He has played right field in his past, but they have locked him in at left field from what everything I've read. This dude had a really, really, really good year last year, actually. I didn't realize it, but he had a career high in average and OBP. He hit 304 and 373. He only played 126 games, was a little banged up for a little while, but this dude hasn't been the healthiest throughout his entire career, which kind of sucks, which I think he could be higher up on this list because this dude's defense is unreal, to be honest. But dude doesn't have very much pop either. He only hit 5 home runs, but like I was referring to the defense, he had 0 errors in 218 chances in the outfield last year. So pretty damn good if you ask me.
Yeah, Benny just missed out on being on my list, and it's no bias. I honestly appreciated his short stint with the Yankees, and it didn't pan out because of the injuries. He got he got a little banged up at the end, and unfortunately, he wasn't able to come back for the playoffs and be at his be offer what he could offer. So for sure, he definitely belongs in this conversation. But for number 9, I have Ian Happ of the Chicago Cubs. Ian Happ's coming off of a really solid season. He's been solid, I feel like, for a couple of years now. But last year, he really did his thing. He had an OPS plus of 119, so about 19 points higher than the average MLB hitter. And on top of that, he won a Gold Glove. And the thing with Ian Happ, I really like what he brings to the plate. He's a switch hitter, both sides. Definitely better power wise on the left side, but I think he definitely has something to offer on the right side too. And I like that about him, and I've got him at number 9.
Yeah, and he didn't make my list, but one thing I want to say about him is this dude has played wherever the Cubs have needed him to play
Mm-hmm.
since he's been called up. I don't know if it was last year he played second base, but I know he's played some second. He's played center. He's played right. This dude has played everywhere, and this year he's locked into left field. So it'll be nice for him to be at one position. Maybe we can see some better numbers because he's not flying everywhere else on the field. But at number 9 for me, I have Christian Yelich, the Milwaukee Brewers left fielder. Kind of like Christian was saying earlier, this dude could be number one. He definitely was number one at one point. He almost won the Triple Crown his MVP year. And kind of since then, it hasn't gone downhill, but it has. But it's just been because of injury, and a back injury just isn't something to mess with when it comes to sports, honestly. But with baseball, it's really hard, honestly. But
Mm-hmm.
his last 3 seasons, he's batted 235, through all 3 of those seasons, and before then, he had never batted below 280 in a season, so it's really frustrating for him, I bet, but as a fan, it's really frustrating to see because this was one of the best players, a top 5 player in baseball for a 3 to 4 year period.
Oh yeah, and we're really not far removed from that at all.
Not at all.
But the positive of that we're not far removed is that he could easily get back to it. But yeah, I definitely I'm hoping to see Yelich shoot up this list because everybody loves Yelich, especially when he's
Mhm.
doing his thing. But yeah, for my number 8 left fielder in baseball, I've got Tyler O'Neill of the St. Louis Cardinals. Uh, he's kind of in the same boat. Obviously, it's a smaller sample size on both ends. He was not an MVP caliber player, even though that hot streak in 2021, he looked like one of the best players I ever
Insane.
seen. But
That's
uh,
the potential he carries.
exactly. And the when I was saying like a smaller sample size, I think it's comparable because 2022 injury riddled for him, and it just it sucked. But the only difference is we haven't seen enough from him yet to see if it's impacting him, and I'm hoping that it doesn't because Tyler O'Neill, I think is going to be a key piece to this Cardinals lineup as long as he's healthy because they've got something going. Adding Wilson Contreras to that lineup that was huge, and on top of already having a solid lineup. So if Tyler O'Neill can get back healthy, I personally think he's going to be the number 2 hitter for one of the most dangerous lineups in baseball.
Yeah, and I mean, I got Tyler O'Neill at number 8 too. This guy's been a very highly touted prospect, or was a very highly touted prospect when he was coming up in the Mariners organization, but then it was traded and came up with St. Louis. So I'm really, really happy to see him in the majors now. He has never really put it together for a full season yet. He has played one full season and he only played like 130 games. But he went absolutely off, like Christian said. That was 2021. He had 34 homers. Had batted like 280 something. Dude has been really, really good that year, but this past season, like we said, injury riddled, and I can see this guy honestly moving up this list if he just stays healthy. And like Christian said, this lineup is just absolutely stacked.
And then a quick thing, just thinking about it now, the fact he only played about 130 games and had 34 home runs that year, full season stretch, that could be a 40 plus home run season for him. And that's insane to think about that he's doing that this early in his career. But like Alex said, and like I said, would love to see this guy bounce back strong. I know injuries suck, and yeah, he's got crazy talent. I really want to see him on the field. But for my number 7 left fielder in baseball, I've got Chris Bryant of the Colorado Rockies. Now, that feels weird to say, even though he's already had a full season, honestly. But yeah, and feels weird to classify him as a left fielder. But they've got Ryan McMahon at third base. When you got a premium glove like that, it's understandable. But Chris Bryant, we know what he brings to the table. Former MVP. Not really. We haven't really seen that in a couple of years, but we know super talented at the end of the day. And Alex mentioned it. He starting last season, he was off to a little bit of an MVP pace. Hard to maintain, but still, Chris Bryant, one of the more interesting swings in baseball too. Just like his whole setup with hitting, and I'm a fan of him. So he's at number 7 for me.
Yeah, I have Chris Bryant at number 7 too. I wouldn't say he was off the MVP pace, but he was having a really, really solid year. But injuries just kind of hampered that and everything. He played 42 games last year. He had 5 homers, 14 RBIs. He had 12 doubles though in 42 games, which is really good. He had 49 hits already, so dude was on pace to get over 200 hits last year. So, um, this has just been one of the premier bats in the league, honestly. Like Christian said, played third base, but when you got a guy who's so good at the defense already, and Chris Bryant can play almost any position on the field,
Mm-hmm.
but shortstop and catcher. So really just plug him out there in left field and not a problem. But I want to see this guy have a full healthy season, especially in Colorado, because this dude I feel like is going to put up some numbers.
Oh, without a doubt, that Coors effect, man. Let's talk about the positive impacts once in a while instead of the negatives when people leave. Nah, I'm messing. But for my number 6 left fielder in baseball, I've got Randy Arozarena, the guy who once looked like the Babe Ruth of the postseason. 2020 was really insane, but since then he's been really solid. Two 20 home run seasons. He's had 52 bases over the stretch of 2021 and 2022. That's really respectable in my eyes. Obviously, he's not putting up the postseason numbers, but how do you expect somebody to do that throughout a whole season? But no, he's been really solid. I feel like ever since he's made his presence known, and honestly, I could see him a little up higher on this list. I kind of had a hard time putting him at 6.
Yeah, I did too. I have at number 6 too, but I was kinda thinking that he could maybe be as high as number 4.
Mhm.
Honestly, maybe not higher than that with the guys who are there, but, above that, but I did have a hard time, like, 4 through 6, honestly, I had a kind of a hard time kind of coming up with but I think Randy Arozarena is, in there at 6 right now. I really, really liked him when he first came up, and he kinda just absolutely took the entire MLB by storm. I mean, that postseason run, everyone is gonna remember that. Even if they Rays didn't win the World Series, everyone is going to remember, that run from him, but, dude's pretty good, in the outfield, has a decent, glove, his arm is pretty good, only really, concern I have with him is that he strikes out a lot. Would like to see that get down a little, maybe have a little better of an eye, but, has a lot of speed. Like Christian said, 52 stolen bases over the past 2 seasons is a lot nowadays.
Yeah, without a doubt. And with Randy, we've seen his ceiling, of course, but it wasn't in a long stretch of baseball. But I don't know. I just feel like this guy definitely has a lot more room to grow as a just a regular season player. I think we've got a lot more to see from him. But yeah, for my number 5, entering the
Hey,
top
before
half.
you move on, I forgot to put him up there, so I just did it.
Yeah, it's all good. Hey, uh, anybody who knows baseball knows Randy because he's that guy. But for my number 5, though, I've got Stephen Kwan of the Cleveland Guardians. This guy, insane rookie season. I remember the start to it was insane, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't want to say discredited him, but I wrote him off as this is an early season hot surge. And honestly, he wasn't as hot throughout the whole season, but he was just hella consistent after that. Maintained a batting average at around 300, just over 300. Doesn't bring a lot of pop to the table, but he ended up hitting a couple of dingers, which surprised me. I didn't think I was going to see that from him. And can't talk about Stephen Kwan without talking about the glove. Stephen Kwan won a gold glove, insane performance in right field last year, and in left field. I'm interested to see him in left field this time. So at the same time, though, no discredit to Stephen Kwan. I could be wrong again because I was wrong about his full season stretch. This is kind of the ceiling I see for him as a top left fielder.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that, honestly. 5 is I don't really see him moving up on this list.
Hmm.
I can see the guys below him moving up on this list, but I like that. That's about his ceiling. I have him at number 5 too. Like Christian said, had a really solid season last year, won a Gold Glove. And to go along with that, he had the third most defensive runs saved the entire season out of every single defender at every position. So that is a very, very good stat to have. And like Christian said, doesn't have the most pop. I would like to see him maybe get a little more pop, but I doubt that's going to happen, especially there in Cleveland. That's not really a home run ballpark.
Hmm.
And maybe for him, since he's a lefty, don't have that big wall out there in left field. But looking forward to seeing if Stephen Kwan can put this together again. Like Christian did say though, at the beginning of last season, he did have a really hot start. I know there is like a really weird stat where he didn't swing and miss at like something consecutive pitches. I think it was like 50 something or 40
Yeah, that
something.
you're reminding me right now. I'm pretty sure you were on the nose. Like it was like 52, I think.
Yeah,
I was guessing.
it was something like that, but, kinda after that, he kinda slowed down a bit, but then picked it up again. It was a huge piece for this, team and their postseason run last year.
Yeah, Stephen Kwan, very very talented ball player. I'm excited to see what impact he has on the Guardians because I've been sleeping on them, even though they've been kind of exceeding my expectations of them consistently. But for my number 4 left fielder in baseball, I've got Taylor Ward of the Los Angeles Angels. I know this guy doesn't have a great big sample size, but when he first came up, this man was looking like Mike Trout the second in that Angels outfield. and obviously an injury put him out, which really sucked because it looked like he was about to be a key piece for the Angels. But honestly, when he came back, he was definitely still solid. He maintained an OPS of over 800 for the season, and yeah, I don't know how far I see. I don't know what I see him as his ceiling, but what I can say is being number 4 right now with this small of a sample size, gotta give credit where it's due.
Yeah, you gotta give credit where it's due, and with, some of the Angels and where their players rank, in some of our lists, you'd think that they'd be a lot better of a team.
Yeah.
Because, there's some guys we haven't gone over yet in positions, but, they're gonna be there, but, Taylor Ward is number 4 for me too, and me and Christian actually have the same 1 through 8,
Yeah.
so, it's kinda nice, but, Taylor Ward is moving to left field, for this season, played right field last year, actually played a lot of different positions, really wherever they needed, but since they are traded for Hunter Renfroe, they're thinking he's gonna be playing right field and Taylor Ward will be playing left field, so that's a pretty solid outfield if you ask me with Renfro, Trout, and Ward. But this dude had a really solid season before he got hurt last year. I'm pretty sure he was an all-star still, but he batted 281 with a 360 OBP. That's really, really good. And it had an 833 OPS or slugging. Yeah, OPS, I mean. All those were career highs. He had never played more than 65 games in a season before last year. So it'll be nice to see him finally get a full season. He played 135 last year. Was on the IL for a little bit, but I want to see him play around 150 games, and I want to see this Angels team in the playoffs because they got some good pieces around them.
The thing I hate about this is we're still saying this to this
We're
day.
still it's been like 4 years.
I've been probably saying this since like 16. Like,
When's the last time they made it? 2015 when the Royals won?
or wait,
Or
I
2014
think it
maybe?
was 14, not when the Royals won, but when they took
When they
over the American
lost?
League. Yeah, but yeah, that's insane to think about. But hopefully, I don't even want to say hopefully. I'm just gonna. I might have to give up on the Angels eventually. No, hopefully not. But entering our top 3 now. As Alex mentioned, we got the same top 3, but this top 3 filled with talent. And for number 3,
Mhm.
I've got Kyle Schwarber of the Philadelphia Phillies. Schwarber when he's hot, I know I mentioned that about Tyler O'Neill. Schwarber when he is hot is
Scary.
probably one of the last players I would ever want to see on a baseball field. Uh, when Schwarber is hot, if he touches the ball, the exit velo is automatically like minimum 110. It's crazy. Like, remember? Do you remember the stretches? Like, I forget the numbers with it, but like he had like the most home runs in like the certain amount of stretch in MLB history, and I'm pretty sure it was
He had like 8 or 9 in like a 20-game stretch or something like that. It was insane.
bro. He was just going absolutely nuts, and like things like that stand out with Schwarber. When it comes to consistency, I guess you can't really say he's one of the best, but when he's on top of his shit, it's really crazy, and it's filled with iconic moments.
No, and he really is, and, I mean, I have my number 3 too, I know we already said that, but, this dude has absolutely unreal power, but that's really all he kinda brings to the table. Everything else is not really there. He batted 218 last year, but he did have a 504 slugging percentage and an 827 OPS. I mean, that's still really good, but the contact just isn't there.
Mhm.
And he's turned into that new prototypical leadoff hitter for nowadays, who is all or nothing, kind
Mhm.
of. So it's really neat to kind of see that, but putting him out there for defensive purposes is not very good. I know
Mhm.
he's never really been a good defender. But he has slimmed down since he came up because he came up as a catcher actually.
Mhm.
But the or not White Sox, Jesus, the Chicago Cubs um, already had pretty good catchers at the time. But Kyle Schwarber, I'm really looking forward to him this year. He hit 46 homers last year. Maybe he can push 50 this year. I'm all for it to be honest, even though he's a Philly.
Hey, I don't have quarrels like you do with the Phillies, so I'm all for seeing Schwarber go for 50, maybe 60. No, I'm playing. That's Judge territory. You stay away from that, Schwarber. No, I'm playing. But before we get into our top two, we want to do a couple quick honorable mentions. For mine, I've got Lourdes Gurriel Jr., part of a big trade this offseason. And I've also got MJ Melendez of the Kansas City Royals. We had him mentioned in our catchers list, but it looks like he's about to be set for to be their left fielder going into next season. And yeah, honorable mentions for them for sure.
Yeah, and for me, my honorable mentions are Dalton Varsho. He was actually part of that trade with
Mhm.
Lourdes Gurriel, and my other honorable mention is Michael Conforto, the San Francisco Giants. I'm hoping this dude can be healthy and have a bounce back year.
Yeah, for sure. Conforto, I think he's fun to watch when he's on top of his stuff. But to get into our top two, might be the most obvious top two in history. Nah, I'm playing. But number two, I've got Juan Soto of the San Diego Padres. I'm a huge Juan Soto fan. I'm just gonna be completely honest. I don't give a shit about the Nationals, and I bought a 2019 World Series shirt for the Nationals just because of how crazy Juan Soto went at 19 years of age, by the way. And he's only about what 23 now, 24 maybe.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously last season, pretty shaky. Going to be completely honest. I would not say to expect that for 2023 though. We know what Juan Soto brings to the table. Honestly, has been historically good through his age. So I'm expecting to see him pick right up from there. And I think it's going to help starting the season with the Padres as well, instead of compared to being traded. I think that's going to be a big plus, and I'm excited to see what the Padres got going on with him on that team.
Oh, yeah, and we don't have Juan Soto's headshot for this. I guess
Mm.
at the time, they didn't think Juan Soto was gonna play left field. I honestly have no idea who that is for the Padres. If anybody in the comments wants to let us know, please, because I actually would love to know who that
Please.
is. But yeah, I mean, Juan Soto, kinda like you said, one thing I wanted to say, about it is him starting in San Diego is gonna be a lot different than in Washington last year because he actually has a squad this year.
Mhm.
He had absolutely nobody to help him, so no one was really pitching to him. So, and he was also a little bit hurt last year, but now that he's with San Diego and he's got Bogarts, he's got Machado, he's gonna have Tatis at some point. He's got people who they gotta pitch to other than him. So I think his stats are gonna be a lot better this year, and we're gonna go back to seeing Tatis, from 2019. I said Tatis, didn't I?
Yeah,
I meant
yeah.
Soto. My bad.
I mean, you got a point. Tatis in 2019 was fun to watch.
Yeah, my bad.
Fernando Tatis, 2019 Tatis, greatest outfielder. No, I'm playing. But honestly, it's going to be dope to see Soto and Tatis sharing the outfield together whenever Tatis does come back because, uh, he's not a shortstop anymore. But for our number one left fielders in baseball, this couldn't be any more obvious. Uh, if anybody watched the World Series, if anybody watched the 2022 regular season, it's Jordan Alvarez, and it's no discussion. And honestly, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. If Jordan's not on this number one on this list next year, call me out on it. And if he is, y'all better subscribe because we're just calling it. Jordan Alvarez, best left fielder in baseball by far, one of just the best hitters in baseball, without a doubt. And I feel like it's going to be a safe bet that for at least next year until Juan Soto flourishes fully, in my opinion, I think Jordan's going to be the best left fielder in baseball for a while until then.
This dude has one of the smoothest swings in all of baseball, to be honest. I absolutely love it. He was a guy who I really wasn't sure about when he first got called up. I know there was a lot of hype about him, but I just really hadn't heard about much about him. But I mean, this dude has taken the league by storm. This past year, he was actually on pace. I wouldn't say he was on pace with Aaron Judge for home runs last year, but his numbers were almost the same until he got hurt. He had like 6 or 7 less home runs. The average was right there with him. This dude does just about everything but play defense. His defense, I've always said, if you've watched any of our videos, is not very good. It's the same thing with like Schwarber and Soto. Even though Soto somehow was a finalist for Gold Glove last year, but none of those guys have really been elite with the glove. It's the bat that really has them here in this position, and it makes up for it in a big way.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. Jordan's bat. And the thing is, I I feel like people who knew about him, yeah, they knew what he could bring to the table. If anybody who wasn't familiar with Jordan, us included, I'll admit it, I wasn't too familiar when he first got called up. We saw him for the power that he could bring to the table, and that's exciting, yeah. But not many people saw how complete of a hitter he was
Mhm.
earlier on, and what he's doing now in every aspect of hitting is he's just elite in every aspect of hitting, and that's scary. That's the scariest thing you could face. I'm not saying he's doing it at like the same rate or anything like that, but that it's like a Barry Bonds at the plate.
It doesn't matter if it's a righty or lefty either. It
Exactly.
doesn't matter what type of pitch it is. Dude can hit anything, honestly. Like, this dude is so good at hitting. Like, it if there was a power rankings for hitters from last year that I would come up with, I would have him at 2 right behind Aaron Judge. Because I mean,
Hmm.
this dude had an absolutely unreal season. He batted 306, with a 406 on base percentage. That's insane, honestly. I didn't even realize he had 1,000 or 100 points higher, and then he had a 613 slugging, and one of my favorite stats in all of sports is when a player has an OPS over 1,000, because they had an absolute monster season, and he had an OPS of 1019 last year, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Oh yeah, and honestly, I'm just really excited to see what Jordan has to show us because he's still young. Jordan
Very.
is like 25 years old, man. Like this is insane, and it's like it's one of my favorite things about baseball right now is how talented the young crop is. Like Jordan, Soto, two best left fielders in baseball, 25 and 24. Like that's insane. And I'm just really glad to see it though at the same time. And I really wish we were seeing Jordan in the World Baseball Classic representing Cuba. Soto is going to be representing DR, and it's seeing Jordan in the World Baseball Classic. We know what he's like in the clutch. Playing for his country, that would have been a sight to see for sure. Because any pitcher that he's coming up against, cooked. And yeah, Jordan definitely, as of right now, the number one left fielder in baseball. And this was a really fun video to make because of how talented, how much this list is full of talent.
And that does it for another rankings video for the All Takes No Whiffs podcast, ranking our top 10 left fielders in the MLB for 2023. And I think our list is pretty good. Looking at lists around everywhere else that people have made, it's been pretty much the same thing, the same 10 people. Same thing with honorable mentions, they're in there too. But uh, I had a really fun time coming up with this list, and we hope y'all enjoyed this video. And if y'all did, make sure y'all subscribe, and also make sure y'all turn on notifications to know when we post new content.
And if you guys want, if you feel like we missed or really hit on a point, you can also let us know on any of our social media pages. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, all at ATNW Podcast. And if you want, you can find my personal Instagram or Twitter at Christian_S52.
And you can find mine at ahandy2215.
This was a really fun list to make, but we're coming up on a stacked one. I'm going to be honest with y'all.
Center
So,
field.
yes, and we know who's at the top. That's obviously Kevin Kiermaier.
Dude's got some unreal power.
Exactly. But I'm really looking forward to the center field list and honestly the other positions that we have yet to cover, which is honestly just right field and pitching. So look forward to those, y'all. But until then, peace.
Peace.